I never knew nothing about human trafficking. I never knew that I was being exploited. I never knew. I didn't wake up and be like, oh, this is what's happening to me. It's something that I thought was normal.
80,000 reported missing people on any given day in the United States. At the same time, there are over 10,000 unidentified bodies. There is no national law requiring agencies to share this information, leaving many families in the dark about their loved one's fate.
Today, family and volunteers, they reported cadaver dogs detected a few locations where human remains might have been buried.
You could have a body that was on one side of a county line, and the next county could have had that individual reported as missing. And no one may have talked to each other.
And we just haven't forgotten, and we're not going to stop until we know what happened.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the Gone Missing Pod. My name is Nicole Mercado, and I am joined by the lovely Alyssa Gutierrez.
Hello, everyone.
How's everything going for you?
Oh, you know what? We're in the month of May officially.
Yes.
And how are you, Nicole?
You know,
gorgeous month of May.
I am actually graduating at the end of the week, so I'm ready to be done. I'm so excited. I'm really excited for summer because it's right around the corner. I think the countdown for the kids and I for school is like 32 days or something of school left. Very ready for summer vacation. I think we all are.
Well, actually, I am taking a birthday trip down to the Big Easy. And so I'm most excited about that. That is my countdown, 12 days and counting.
And ask folks, Alyssa and I have been friends for many years. Ask if she asked me to go with her. She did not.
Do you hear this busy woman's life? Where in the hell is she going to squeeze in time for this trip?
That's not the point. You could have asked me. I just wanted the invitation.
Understood. Besides the fact that the past few years of travel has only been with you.
I know. But I'm glad that you're going to go. You're going to have such a good time. It's going to be so fun. And then you'll be back and we'll have my reception and that will be so fun.
And then we'll be in June and I will officially be on the beach.
Yes. And so this is, I think, a good time. I believe from what our schedule is, this is the last week of 2 episodes. We will be going to 1 episode a week starting next week. Just for the summer, guys. We need a break. We're really tired, but we don't want to leave you without any content. I think we are going to take 1 week off in May just because of Alyssa's vacations and my reception and graduation. There's a lot of things happening, but we're going to switch over to that for the summer and then we'll kind of go backwards once we hit fall time and go back to the 2 episodes. But for right now, we're going to enjoy it. We're still going to provide, an episode a week. So we need this. We really need this. All right, Alyssa, let's get into the case today. And it's actually cases. And this is kind of a weird one. So we'll get into it.
Let's do it.
So 23-year-old Laresha Walke was last seen in Nashville, Tennessee on November 19th, 1999. She was in the 900 block of Gale Street at her sister's house when she dropped off her 2-year-old son and had planned to drive her car to Murfreesboro, Tennessee the following morning because she had to get her car fixed. So totally makes sense. She was going to her sister's house so that she wouldn't have to worry about her 2-year-old in the morning, which I don't have children, but I have dogs. And occasionally when we have early things happening, especially if people are going to be fixing something in the house, when our heat went, we just had to not have the dog here because at the time it was just Mowgli. And we were like, oh, this isn't going to work because they were coming at 8 a.m. It's just so much happening at one time that I can imagine being what am I supposed to do? Bring my car in and then just have my 2-year-old hanging out? No, just let's get him to Auntie's house and then I can do my thing, get the car fixed, and he's in a safe place having a good time and not bored out of his mind at the mechanic shop.
It's always good to, have that family support.
Absolutely. So that night, she called her dad between 9:30 and 10, and they talked briefly, it seems. And then a little bit later, a neighbor actually heard Laresha arguing with someone outside. They said that it was a spat. It seemed like it was getting a bit heated. And since then, she has never been heard from again.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. It was very strange, and nobody seems to know who, or I shouldn't say nobody seems to know. Law enforcement may have an idea, but it seemed like from what I gathered about like what the neighbors had said, nobody knew who she was arguing with exactly. Like, it doesn't seem it was like concrete.
And they didn't comment like it was after midnight or it was in the wee hours.
No, it said that it was at night. That's all I know. So one of Laresha's sisters, Lakeisha, actually went to her house at 3800 Edwards Avenue when Laresha did not contact anyone on November 20th, which was the next day, which they thought was weird because they had her son. She assumed that like she would get into contact once they knew what was going on with the car and how what the estimate was going to be, but they didn't really hear anything. They found that the lights were turned on inside her house and the stereo was really loud, so her sister turned the volume down and left the apartment. I'm guessing she probably figured she like left in a rush or something. You know what I mean? Like when you're trying to get out the door and you know you're going to be late, like I'm notorious for like leaving things on because I'm just like, oh my God, it's past the time I needed to go. And I'm like trying to race out of the house. And sometimes I feel like when I have less responsibility, that's when I take longer. Because I think I have more time. So like she dropped off her kids. So she was probably like, oh, I have a little extra time because I don't have to worry about getting my 2-year-old out the door. You know, like in my head, that's kind of what I would be thinking. And again, I think we say this all the time where you don't want to think the worst. So your brain doesn't.
Right. You'd think, oh, okay, that's odd. The radio's on. I'll ask her about it later. You know? Exactly.
So the next day, November 21st, she was still not heard from, and her family went to her home again to, and again, I think it's just this idea of like, I don't want to think that the worst has happened.
Right. Because, I mean, to be honest, if I have her child and it's been more now going on a day and a half, and I'm assuming they're calling her,
Right, exactly.
And for there to be no answer, I would be in a full out panic.
It's not answering, going to her house. I'm assuming they had a key. Yeah, nowhere to be found. And so they called law enforcement. The clothes that Laresha was actually wearing the day that she was last seen were found at her house. So she did end up back at home and she changed her clothes at home.
Right. However, so that was probably after taking the drive.
Correct. It looks like after taking the drive or... it's the night that she went missing. So it was after the argument, I guess.
Okay.
However, her 1995 Oldsmobile Achieva with Tennessee license plate number 419ABG has never been found. The vehicle had a long scratch on the driver's side door and it was pretty noticeable. So it's a pretty recognizable car and no one has found it since. Laresha worked at Peterbilt Motors Company in Nashville during that time, and they said that she found the job through a temp agency, and she was very responsible. Even the temp agency seemed to say that she was responsible. Her family said that, and she was also super protective of her son, and she was a private person. She didn't seem to mix groups. Some people really like to keep certain friends in this group, certain friends in that group, family in this group, and like kind of keep everyone separate. And it's kind of seemed that's what she did. She had her friends or maybe anyone that she was seeing kind of private because, like some people like to kind of keep those things to themselves. And They don't feel the need to mix and match, They said that they don't believe, however, that she would have just got up and left without sharing any information with her family or like providing something to her child,
Yeah, exactly. Or at least just checking in. Hey, how's the baby?
Exactly.
Something as simple as that.
Exactly. So Rayvon Walker was actually 2 years old when his mom went missing. And 17 years later, he did speak with the news saying, quote, "My family says she was very caring. And they said when she had me, I was all she really cared about. I was her everything."
Oh, wow. That has to be so hard for him to grow up and give that statement.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so sad to me. And it's so like, he just has to go based off with what his family says. And, he doesn't get the opportunity to have that relationship with his mom, which is really just so, so sad to me. And I would say that it ends there, but then it gets really strange because on October 5th, 2016, Wanda Walker, Laresha's mother, went missing without a trace.
Oh my goodness.
So 60-year-old Wanda was last seen in Nashville, Tennessee on October 5th, 2016. She lived with her cousin on 11th Avenue and was supposed to go to work at the Dollar Tree that day on Franklin Pike, but she had some car trouble. Now, she's 60 years old. Her daughter went missing, 17 years before then. And this is almost down to the month because remember, Laresha went missing in November. This is
Right.
October.
That is such a coincidence.
So she was having car trouble. She did call her boyfriend and he actually came and helped her out. He went to the road, met her on the roadside, put oil in her car, which basically just overheated and it helped her get it started. However, somewhere between that point and work, she was never heard from again. She never made it to work.
Where did the boyfriend go?
He went home. He went and helped her, and it doesn't seem like he was any sort of suspect in it. Again, this is 2016. So from 1999 to 2016, a lot has changed, right? Surveillance has changed. Information has changed, like cell phones, pinging. Like there's just so much more that you can look into. A few days later, on October 13th, Wanda's Nissan Maxima was found locked and abandoned in an alley outside the residence of Wade Avenue. However, neighbors stated it had been there for about a week.
Huh.
And there was no sign of Wanda at the scene. They hadn't seen her, but her purse was still inside the car.
Oh my goodness.
So this bizarre situation happens. The car had been abandoned there since probably a day after she went missing. And I'm sure nobody reported it because not everyone reports an abandoned car, especially if it's not inconveniencing you.
Exactly.
I'm not reporting an abandoned car.
For parking, then
Right.
I don't pay attention to you.
And
But
it's like if it's not my business and someone just leaves their car there, all right, well, they parked their car there. What am I supposed to do about it?
Yeah. It's
So-
not inconveniencing anybody. Usually, I think 3 days in the city, then you can report a
Right.
vehicle abandoned.
So there was evidence of a struggle in her car, and the investigators believe that she must have gotten into a physical confrontation with someone known to her. Why they say that, I'm not entirely sure. And
Well, I almost feel like if there was a struggle in the car, that means, well, two things. My first instinct was she let them in. They were riding together,
Right.
maybe somewhere. But then also I'm thinking if she was held up and they got into the vehicle, then there could have been an altercation that way.
yeah, that's true. And again, I think that because we just don't have a ton of information on it, it's hard to speculate what exactly happened. But I think that by saying her purse was in there, so maybe not a robbery, you know what I mean? It seems like there's a couple of things that maybe provided law enforcement to think, I think she knew this person and, argued with this person. What was also present in the car was a privet, which is a little shrub type plant. I have no idea what that is. I assumed you might because you're my plant lady.
It's a shrub type plant, Nicole.
Yeah. Well, but I can't even picture it in my head. I have no idea what it looks like. So, but I thought that was a little strange because why would you be bringing that to work with you unless she did stop by with somebody and was oh, let's stop in and grab something. You know what I mean?
Right.
There was also a significant amount of blood in the backseat of the Nissan, and they later determined that it was Wanda's blood. There was enough to lead them to think she had probably been killed in the car. So we have two cases, a mother and daughter, disappearing almost exactly 17 years apart from each other. Both cases remain unsolved. However, neither of them say that there's any indication that they're related.
Oh man, I really am curious if they're related.
Yeah.
Was there any information about was her mom actively involved in the investigation, or
I know
that
she
we
spoke.
see families that
I know
are
that
out there.
she had spoken, I think, to some of the news outlets about her gone missing. But in 1999, I feel sometimes the media now, even in, from 1999, even to 2010 is just a huge difference. So I don't know if she maybe spoke to more or if there was maybe smaller media outlets that she had spoken to. Because Laresha didn't have a ton of information. I do know that Laresha had a heart condition and had to take medication for it, but she did not have her prescription with her at the time of her disappearance in 1999, which kind of makes me think that she had no plans to up and leave.
Right. Yeah.
Her car, like I said, had gone missing as well, and nobody has been able to find it. And at the time that she went missing, she was 23, 5'7", and between 190 and 200 pounds. She would be 46 today. She's an African-American female with black hair and brown eyes. She does go by her middle name, Deanna. One of her front teeth, her upper front teeth, is capped and trimmed in gold, inscribed with the letter D. Her ears are both pierced, and she has a surgical scar on the left side of her chest as the result of a heart operation. And some agencies spell her name as Laresha with a capital R for the Risha part. And then her middle name they sometimes spell as Dana, Dana. I thought that was like something to note was that having a heart condition at 23 years old, like I can't imagine if she was going anywhere, that she wouldn't take that with her.
Oh yeah, it's serious. And depending on what type of medication, maybe she even had a pacemaker. It's not something you just walk away without every intention of like planning for, emergencies
Exactly.
or regular medication.
Exactly. So it just seemed a little odd to me when they said that, like, oh, well, she had a heart condition, and they kind of like mentioned that later on. And I'm like, oh, well, that's serious. And she's only 23. It's not, I can sometimes understand when like older folks forget medication because in general, like being a bit, in that time, like sometimes you can be a little bit more forgetful. Sometimes you have other things going on like dementia or Alzheimer's where you may forget your medication. But like 23 years old, it just seems odd to me that she would leave without that if she was planning on just up and leaving.
Right.
So Wanda, like I said, was 60 when she went missing on October 5th in 2016. They both went missing from Nashville, Tennessee. They did find her car with the blood in the back seat. She was 5'7" and 180 pounds when she went missing. She is also an African-American female. She had blonde hair and brown eyes. Her natural hair color is brown, but she'd been coloring it blonde for multiple years before her disappearance. So likely people would recognize her more so with the blonde hair than the brunette. And she did style it in a very short afro, and her ears are pierced. So I just was so thrown when I found the case of Laresha, and I definitely wanted to talk about her and how she went missing, and she left a little 2-year-old behind. But then on top of it, I was as I'm reading through, and I'm like, wait, her mom went missing 17 years later.
Yeah, my heart really goes out to this family. I mean, they have definitely endured a lot, especially that young boy.
Yes.
To have two of the matriarchs of his family go missing. Oh man, my heart goes out to him. I hope he's been able to, to find some peace during both of these hard times.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was so sad when I read that because I'm like, I can't imagine how it is to lose your mom and then to also lose your grandma, and also under mysterious circumstances. Like the family doesn't have any answers. It's
Right.
all truly just a mystery. And it just makes me so sad to know and to see that, because it's just, I just don't understand how that even happens.
I know.
Like, that's what kills me. I don't understand how that happens. I wanted to quickly thank the Charlie Project and Reddit for all the information that I found. Reddit was actually a really great tool because it kind of led me to additional documentation where they had a little bit like that quote from her son, which I thought was really important. And then also Nashville.gov had some great information as well. Both of their cases are being investigated by the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department, and their phone number is 615-862-8600. So if you have any information to provide this family some peace and to provide justice for both Wanda and Laresha, you can give them a call there. Thank you so much, Alyssa, for taking the time to do this case with me. And I know that we kind of jumped from Laresha to Wanda, but I felt like we couldn't cover one case without covering the other.
No, I definitely agree with you. Both of these ladies are very important. And, for the sake of that young boy, I mean, he deserves some peace. So thank you, Nicole, for bringing up this case today.
Thank you so much. And thank you guys. We're so appreciative of you. And I hope that you guys know, because of this community, we really we feel so grateful. So thank you guys, and thank you to the Mercado Airwaves Network for hosting us each and every week, as well as our wonderful editor and producer, Mike Mercado. We appreciate everything that he does for us, especially when I am running late, which is all the time. Thank you to you, Alyssa, for working around my crazy schedule. I appreciate you.
No problem.
I've now just come to be like, hey, Alyssa, these are my time slots. What works with yours?
None of them.
They never do. But that's okay. And guys, we will check back with you next week. I believe we have a Monday episode releasing. So it'll be like a Monday, then a Thursday, then a Monday, then a Thursday. It's going to be great. We're going to get through this summer. It'll be amazing. If you want to reach out to us, you can hit us up on Instagram or Twitter at The Gone Missing Pod, or Facebook at The Gone Missing Podcast. You can also become a patron and go to patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves Network and go to The Gone Missing Podcast. Thank you guys, and we will check in with you next week. Bye.